Hey, what's going on, y'all? Sean here, and for my not my new, but for my schedule, my regularly scheduled live. So I hope y'all doing well today. If you have any questions, definitely chime in or whatever, and ask your health and fitness related questions in the chat. Stuff about building muscle, calisthenics, body weight exercise, how to eat, losing fat, and then a whole plethora of other topics like avoiding lifestyle disease, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of all the kind of stuff that I'm interested in and that I tend to talk about here on this channel. So make sure that you, if you have a question, that you put in the chat, or if you're watching this after the live, then you can put your question in the comments, and I'll do my best to get back with you. All right, so I came across an article the other day, and the title of the article is "Fat Cells Have a Memory of Obesity." Um, and the little abstract, if you will, the little kind of like uh, paragraph before the article says, most people who lose weight through dieting will see it creep back up, leading to a cycle of yo-yo dieting that's hard on the body. A new study suggests fat cells keep a memory of previous weight gain, which may help to explain why this happens. Okay, so I didn't actually look all the way through this article here, and even just kind of like seeing some of the stuff that I see here, I already am like, I don't know, I don't totally care for some of the things that it says. Um, but let's talk about this. So why is it? Well, anyway, they're saying that fat cells may have a memory of obesity. They may remember how it was to be obese. And let's kind of talk about that. So here's the thing. I kind of see this the same way that I see like people who build muscle and say they gained maybe high school and whatnot, they gained a whole lot of muscle or college or whatever. And then life happened and they kind of got out of lifting weights and all that stuff. And then they kind of lost muscle. It didn't turn to fat. Let's go ahead and say that at the outset, because muscle can't turn to fat, totally different tissues. But this person lost, a lot of muscle mass, and then they decided to get back into fitness and started lifting moderately heavy weights again, lifting in a way to stimulate muscle hypertrophy or muscle growth, and they gained it back pretty fast. So that's a lot of times what we refer to as muscle memory, and that's like a real thing. Like I don't know all the scientific details about it, but what I'm saying is it's a real thing that if you've already had a certain kind of muscle, when you come back and do it again, it's not going to be like starting from ground zero. Your body is going to have some level of remembrance of how it was to gain the muscle. Okay. And so it'll be easier for you to gain muscle than it is for somebody who's starting from the beginning per se, because your muscles have a certain kind of memory. Now, there's also a certain kind of ease in building muscle for beginners too. Um, where a beginner will gain muscle faster than somebody who has been lifting weights for a very long time consistently, they're going to be gaining muscle slower. But if it comes to somebody who used to lift, then they stop lifting and then they go to lifting again, you're going to gain muscle back pretty quickly. Now, so this is saying that this is how it is with fat. And I'm going to see what I can see here in this article that it says about suggesting that fat has memory. Let's see. So this says in the new study, scientists observed mice that were given a high-fat diet before switching back to a normal diet to return them to their starting weight. Once they dropped the extra weight, the mice were metabolically indistinguishable from mice that were never fed a fatty diet. However, when the researchers looked at the mice's fat cells, they found that despite their weight loss, the cells still carried epigenetic changes that had arisen during the weight gain. And so if you don't recall or know what epigenetics is, basically, in a nutshell, it's like genetics that can be changed by the environment. How genes can be affected by one's environment. So what they're saying here is that scientists saw that fat cells of these mice who had been fed a high fat diet before had epigenetic changes that had arisen when they had initially gained the weight from that high fat diet. Now, high fat also is I'm sure this is a somewhat controversial thing because a lot of people say that a high fat diet may help you to lose fat. Now, when I was growing up, there was a general understanding that fat will make you gain fat, but now we know that that's not really the case. It's not necessarily fat makes you gain fat. You could gain some fat off of that, but a lot of times, at least from what I've learned, what causes people to really gain fat is like more than anything, it's like sugar, it's like a sugary, starchy diet that's high in a lot of that kind of stuff because it spikes your blood sugar and it pulls stuff into your fat cells pretty easily. It's not that you can't gain fat from a fatty diet. You can, but it's not a one-to-one like conversion. Like, ooh, I eat a piece of fat and then it goes right into my fat. It doesn't really work that way. So let's see. Um, okay. So yeah. So this says the epigenetic changes didn't have consequences for the mice as long as they were in a healthy environment. So when the mice were given like some sort of standard mouse diet, whatever that was, then even if they had epigenetic changes from their previous unhealthy diet, it was okay as long as they were fed a standard diet. They didn't experience whatever weight issues. So here's the thing that is a little contradictory to me in this same article. They say earlier, um, let's see, they say without weight loss medications or bariatric surgery, most people will return to their original body mass within a few years of losing weight through a diet. This can lead to yo-yo dieting. Okay, so now they're saying that this is because of the epigenetic changes in fat cells. But the reason why I have an issue with that is this says without weight loss medications or bariatric surgery. So let's really uncover what this is saying here. Because on one hand, it could seem to be saying that um it could seem to be saying that if those people who don't get weight loss medications, like we think about like semaglutides and I can't remember how you say the other ones, but like the Ozempic and stuff like that. People who don't get Ozempic medications, Wegovy or whatever, or get like the surgery, like to staple your stomach or make it smaller or whatever. Most people are going to gain weight if they don't get those kind of things. So it's like they could be saying that, um, but then later on in the article they talk about how mice who experience epigenetic changes to their fat cells, they didn't gain the weight back as long as they were fed a certain kind of diet. So if you look at this whole thing about people returning to their original weight, if they didn't get weight loss medications or bariatric surgery, if you look at it a certain way, you'll think, well, shoot, I gotta get those for my weight loss to be sustained. But that's not true. As long as, like they say later on in the article, with them, like you do like how it was with the mice, that you continue to eat a standard diet. And the issue is not a lack of surgery or a lack of medication. It is, what in the world do I do to not return to the diet that caused me to gain the weight in the first place? Or I won't even say the diet, the lifestyle that caused me to gain the weight in the first place. This stuff bothers me because in our society, we we're so disconnected from like the truth of all of this stuff. We're so disconnected. And so it's here's the thing, y'all. it's very clear that weight gain comes from an unhealthy diet and an overall unhealthy sedentary lifestyle. Okay. And of course, you have some of the other things like a lack of sleep or like plastics and stuff in our foods, that affect our hormones and some of those other details that affect weight too. But the key players in our obesity crisis are our terrible diets that are filled, especially with processed carbohydrates, as well as our very sedentary lifestyles, which are like unprecedented as far as like how sedentary they are. I mean, we don't do these days in our current society. It's hard for us to find opportunities to move, especially if you live kind of far out from things or whatever. You have to drive everywhere and whatnot. So the point that I want to make though is this: we have to understand that we have ways of losing weight quickly and whatnot, but the root cause is our basically our addiction to comfort. We're addicted to comfort, and we don't really know how to dislodge ourselves from that. That's what causes people to go back. That's really the issue with yo-yo dieting. It's not that the weight just kind of comes, oh man, I just looked and I just turned around and the weight just came back. No, it's addiction to the comfort foods and the comfortability of not doing anything because of the way that society is now. But here's the thing. The other concern I have is that when people use weight loss medications, when people get bariatric surgery, I'm not shaming you for that. I mean, I have my own opinions about it, but whatever you decide to do, I mean, you do your thing. That's your freedom. But one of my concerns with that also is that if you get that and your cravings have not been rectified, then I can see a real risk for malnutrition in those kind of settings. I can see a real risk for malnutrition because what happens is, because the real issue with diet that leads to excess weight, the real issue is that the diet is very unhealthy. The unhealthy foods that we eat, the very highly processed foods, those things are largely devoid of nutrients. Largely devoid of nutrients. Sometimes they have vitamins added to them to try to like, so you can have some sort of something on there that says vitamin A, vitamin C, whatever. But even those, a lot of times, those aren't really as bioavailable, those particular nutrients. So the point I'm making is you can do, some of these different kind of things that might bring weight loss a little quicker. But at the same time, though, you have to understand, because the root cause is not dealt with, you could have an even bigger issue to your health. That's why even when I talk about weight loss on this channel, I'm always talking about stuff that produces weight loss as a secondary effect, as a secondary benefit. Because when you're dealing with excess weight, especially in today's world, your issue is not so much of having it's not so much of just a weight issue. There's an underlying issue, and excess weight is like a side effect, if you will. Okay. And so that's why I always talk about getting to the root cause. If you really want to keep from yo-yo dieting, the issue that you want to tackle is not your weight. That's not really, just being real, that's not really going deep enough. The issue that you really want to tackle is your cravings, your flesh, your cravings. Like, you have to, and it's possible because you can look around and see people who never touch junk food. It may seem hard to fathom. And I won't say I don't eat, junk food sometimes. I have some things every now and then, but the key is it not having a hold of me. Okay. And so it's possible for you to get to a place where you could either never have a craving for, I don't know, fries again, or for and thank you for your question, Lester. I'll answer that in a second. You can get to a place where you can never have cravings for stuff again, or at least to where you are like in control, where you can, like, for example, how I do with Coca-Cola. I had a Coca-Cola on Thanksgiving, and I enjoyed it. And so now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm good. And I may get one for Christmas as well. I may not, but I'm in control. Okay. So you can get to that place. And I tell you, you have to get to that place when it comes to weight loss. If you want to really lose weight, because that's the only way you're really going to truly control stuff. That's the only way, or I'll say that's the healthy way. And it's also the way that you're going to ensure not only that you lose weight, but that you are supplied with adequate nutrition so that you can be healthy. That's really what you want. All right, Lester. Thank you for joining in today. Let me see what you said here. You said, I know, excuse me. I know there are many things one can change to help with weight loss. What do you think is the number one thing you should focus on in one start of changing their lifestyle to help with weight loss? Okay, good question. So what would I say? So the first thing I typically say, so it's a couple of things that come to my mind. The first thing I tell people to tackle when it comes to weight loss is, if you have a habit of drinking like sweet drinks like soda and tea and stuff like that, you want to go ahead and wean yourself off of those, because those are really, in my opinion, the biggest reason that we have so much of a obesity epidemic in this country, or the world, I guess, really. But yeah, so that's the biggest thing. But to kind of speak more broadly, to kind of answer your question more broadly, I believe that we need to tackle our sweet tooth more than anything. And again, the way I suggest you doing that is, one, eliminating sweet drinks, or yeah, I'll say, and that includes juice. That includes 100% juice. It includes those things. Now, if it's hard for you to fathom that, you know, you can gradually wean yourself off. So, like, by for example, like allowing yourself to maybe just have one thing a day. Yep, exactly. Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, Lester, because the thing is with juice, because I get a lot of people tell me that, like, when I'm giving people advice and I say this, and they'll be like, well, yeah, I drink a lot of water and I drink a lot of 100% fruit juice, and I'd be like, that too. And I've had people like, I can't give up my juice. I'm not saying that juice doesn't have some level of health benefit. I'm not saying that, because it does. So if you were to compare juice to soda, for example, then juice is probably going to be better if it's 100%. If it's fresh squeezed, even better. But at the same time, when you separate the juice from the fruit, you're separating all of that sugar from the fiber and stuff that would normally kind of help to regulate how it is processed by your body. That's how it would usually work. And so then also you have to consider the fact that if you drink, for example, a glass of apple juice, that's not juice from one apple. Because if you were to juice, like if you ever get a juicer and you juice one apple, then it's going to probably be like, that much juice. So it's probably more so like 3 or 4 apples. So you have to consider that when you consider how much sugar you're taking in from how many apples. So it's just like you probably wouldn't be able necessarily to eat 4 apples in one setting, or you probably eat one and you would be good. You know what I mean? So sometimes people don't consider that, but yeah, I know. So I told somebody, you have to give up that juice, or at least, just drink 100% juice for like special occasions or something like that. Or I'll say, to the very least, if you consume juice sometimes, the best time to consume it would probably be after a workout, like after a good, vigorous workout, just because of the fact that when you work out, it kind of like brings your blood sugar down to a degree. And so a little bit of juice wouldn't necessarily hurt then, either. Maybe even before a workout, it might be okay. Um, But again, even then, not that much. Especially if weight loss is your goal. If you really really want to lose weight, then you gotta bring the what am I trying to say, the sugary beverages down, and not even artificially sweetened, because some of those have a similar effect on the body. And artificially sweetened beverages a lot of times have other health concerns associated with them, because there are these chemicals that have their own effect on the body, because you introduce it to the body and it has an effect on some of your cells some sort of way. I've heard that some of them are carcinogenic, that some of them are associated with neurological issues and whatnot. So yeah, hopefully that answers that pretty well. Okay, so by eating versus drinking an apple, you get the benefits of the fiber and such to consume it, versus drinking where your body, right, exactly. You said that very well, Lester. So in essence, yeah, you're going to get the benefit of everything that comes with that apple, whatever other nutrients are inherent in the actual fibers, the tissues of the apple. And you're not going to have such a huge sugar spike that will contribute to your insulin going up and you perhaps gaining more fat. Yeah, because once you drink that sugar, then yeah, your body's immediately processing that in there. Okay, great, great. Well, cool. Thank you for your question, Lester. I appreciate it. I know I see you sometimes like on other comments and whatnot, so I appreciate you being a subscriber and whatnot. So yeah, so yeah, the thing is, like, with this article, and I'm gonna link to this article that I talked about in this live here, that talks about fat cells having memory. I'm sure that fat cells do have memory, but it really doesn't, as far as I'm concerned, fat cells having memory from when you were obese or not doesn't really it doesn't have to have an effect on whether or not you gain weight back or not. Because the only way that you gain weight back is going to be if the environment changes. In other words, if what you are doing is, like, as far as like how you eat and how much you move and whatnot, if that is actually having, um, if that is exposing your body to such a place where you're going to gain fat. But if you don't do that, then you don't have to worry about your weight starting to creep up. Okay. So, yeah. So, I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to link to this article. I'm going to let you, so you can read it yourself and kind of take from it what you will. Like I say, some of this stuff I'm not as fond of, but I think it's still a good read. Um, so yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna let this be it for this live today. Again, thank you, Lester, for jumping in and asking your questions and whatnot. I'm gonna be on here. My plan as of now is like every weekday, Monday through Friday at 10. Lord willing, I do that every weekday. And then, if you have any questions, you can just jump in, ask your questions, and then we'll do our best to answer them. So anyhow, make sure you tell your friends. Make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And I'll see y'all tomorrow morning at 10. But yeah, stay tuned though, because I'm still gonna be posting other videos on YouTube here as well. So y'all take care, have a great day, and just peace out.